When you look at the strikeout category for starting pitchers, as fantasy participants, we become enamored with those guys who strike out more than a batter per inning, or guys that we expect to eclipse the 200 strikeout mark. But often, it's catch-22. You've got guys like Jeff Samardzija, who we expect to be in that category, but he pitches to an ERA of well over 4 and a whip of over 135. Then you've got Clayton Kershaw, who undoubtedly has the best starting pitching resume in the game. He annually puts up over 200 strikeouts per year, striking out over a batter per inning, but he pitches to an ERA in the low 2s. Last year under 2 and a whip lower than 1. So who are the pitchers that can get you tons of strikeouts but not hurt you in the other categories? Well, we already mentioned Kershaw. How about you, Darvish? He struck out 11.9 batters per 9 last season, posting 277 strikeouts, an ERA of 2.83, and a whip of 1.07. Now, Detroit has 3 guys that you expect to fit this bill: Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, and Anibal Sanchez if he can remain healthy. Steven Strasburg is one you'd expect to be in this group. Jose Fernandez will too if he pitches anything close to what he did last season. But the 2 guys I want to talk about are both sophomores, and both have an opportunity to join this elite fantasy club this season. The first guy is Cleveland Indians starter Danny Salazar. Now, in limited action last season, in 53 innings, Salazar struck out 10.48 batters per 9 with an ERA just over 3 and a whip of 1.13. Salazar is now 4 years removed from Tommy John surgery, and he pitched a combined 145 innings between the minors and majors last season, and the general rule of thumb is that they advance young pitchers no more than about 30 innings per season, especially ones with a history of arm trouble. So, with a healthy season, you can expect about 175 innings from Salazar, not including playoffs where they may decide to roll the dice a bit and keep him going if he doesn't seem fatigued. That may not be enough to get him to the 200 strikeout number, but for the innings that he does pitch, I expect that type of return. Now, the second sophomore is Cincinnati Reds starter Tony Cingrani. Now, this young left-hander has no history of arm problems, and he tossed over 104 innings for the Reds last season, striking out 120 batters, or 10.3 per 9. He started 18 games, pitching to a 2.92 ERA and a whip of just 1.09. He also pitched 31 minor league innings, starting 6 games there. He had an almost comical ERA of 1.15, a whip of just 0.8, while striking out 14.1 batters per 9. So he threw about 135 innings total, and while he doesn't have the same injury history of Salazar, you have to figure about the 175 innings mark would be his limit as well, which is about a 45 inning increase. Now, Salazar has an NFBC ranking of 29, and he's the 30th pitcher being taken as people draft their teams, and Cingrani has a ranking of 143 and is the 34th starting pitcher being taken. Now, while I do see them both as undervalued there, it's certainly not like they're going unnoticed, and you can certainly make the argument that since neither are expected to crack the 200 inning plateau, that no matter how good they pitch, their fantasy value should factor that in. Now, here's the catch with these 2 guys. Given their high fantasy upside and the fact that their skill sets fit what fantasy participants are looking for, you're going to want these 2 guys on your roster, but to the extent that they live up to their billing and are pitching well this season, if you're in contention, these are both guys that you should consider trading before the deadline. You'll be able to get a ton for them, and the guy you trade them to will then have to deal with their innings limit issues. Now, if you're not in it at that point, and you're in a keeper league, obviously you're going to want to hold on to them. Salazar and Cingrani, 2 guys that you're going to want to draft, but then perhaps maybe a little micromanaging later in the season.